What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into Red Goblin issue number 2. And what we have seen so far is Norman Osborn, the son of Harry Osborn and the grandson to the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, developing a friendship with Dylan Brock, the current host to the Venom symbiote, and the son to the original Venom, Eddie Brock. In need of allies, Dylan had gave Normie an alien symbiote that Normie had dubbed Rascal. But the young symbiote is inexperienced. He is very aggressive, and Normie has been struggling to keep him under control. Now they are facing against their first test. A resurgent Goblin Nation under the command of the resurrected Phil Urich, aka the Goblin King. They have kidnapped Norman Osborn, and it is up to Normie to go and save the day. So make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with the Goblin King and Norman Osborn. They have Norman strapped down, and they are siphoning off all of his blood, being extremely difficult just to get into his blood veins. When they were able to do so, they started taking as much blood as they could. And while Norman is strapped up, the Goblin King kind of gives us his origin story. Now, we already know who he is in a relative manner, but we all believe that he had died. He lets us know that Dr. Strome's Goblin Forum reverses cell death, or at least it partially reverses it. This means he came back from the grave, but this body is still rotted into mulch. Not being able to return back to his old life, he came down to the Goblin Nation, down in the sewers where everybody is welcome, and here he rotted, while Norman was up there soaring in his armor of gold. The Goblin King is under the impression that Norman has known the Goblin Nation was here the entire time, that Norman is the one to send the Red Assassin. But Norman tries to let him know that he has no idea what he is talking about. This is where we pick up with Normie, his mother, and brother. The news is out there. Norman Osborn has been kidnapped. And while the kids don't really want to go to school, they feel as they have no other option. To keep things as normal as possible, the boys head into school, but Normie didn't leave today without his symbiote. As the day goes on, Normie sits here in the bathroom and he is getting jumped by some kids. They are doing this because Norman Osborn had been kidnapped and now there are cops at the school, and these kids don't seem to be happy with that idea. But Normie holds back the restraint of pulling out his symbiote. He lets them do what they're gonna do, and this is when another kid comes to his aid, punching one of them in the face and letting them know that they need to walk away and do it now. The kid's name is Tim Anders, and he is here on a Stark scholarship. Brand new to the school, but he is letting Normie know that you gotta fight back against guys like this. Down in the sewers, we have Norman Osborn that is about to learn some awful truths. They have been stealing his blood for one purpose: the Goblin formula going through the veins of Norman. They have been draining his blood so they can all inject his blood into their bodies, so that they can take the serum and make the Goblin Nation something more than it ever was before. While Norman tries to let them know that their minds are gonna have something happen to it, not a single one of them listen. They all inject themselves, and they become something much more. And the Goblin King, we see him much bigger than he has ever been. More than ever, they are ready for the Red Assassin. Taking us over to Normie and Rascal, the two of them having a conversation. Normie apologizing for getting mad at the symbiote. But right now, Normie needs help in finding him. Norman has a codex, a trace of symbiote from when he was the Red Goblin. This means that Rascal should be able to locate him. We see them suit up and they head out, telling the symbiote that he must hold it together, that he must stay under control if they are going to do this, with Rascal agreeing. It doesn't take long for him to head down into the sewers, with the Goblin King waiting for his arrival. What he sees first is not the Red Assassin. He sees the rats that live in the sewers. Hundreds of thousands of rats come pouring in and they start attacking the Goblin King. This distraction gives Normie the opportunity to go in. As he goes in to take down the Goblin King, he quickly learns that the Goblin King has had a power upgrade. More than that, the Goblin King thinks that he is Carnage. Norman Osborn in a very, very bad state. He is thanking him for coming, saying that you always come. This is 2 cases of mistaken identity. The Goblin King thinks that this is Carnage. Norman thinks that this is Spider-Man. Regardless, Normie is doing everything he can to free his grandfather and take down the Goblin King. With the Goblin King getting the upper hand on Normie, we see a sonic attack, very painful and almost lethal to Rascal. Norman gets up and he uppercuts the Goblin King, not knowing that this is Normie, just seeing that it is a symbiote. Normie continues to say Sir and Mr. Osborn, things of these nature, so that he doesn't try and give away who he is. But with the Goblin King being put unconscious, they go to make their escape only to be met by more of the Goblin Nation. Normie telling Rascal that he can feel him fighting him, telling him not to flip out again. The symbiote had promised not to do so. But now, as they stand before the Goblin Nation, all of them now fully upgraded and much more powerful, he tells Rascal on second thought, it might be a good time to start flipping out. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. All in all, this is not off to a bad start. Very enjoyable seeing Normie having his own symbiote. And this symbiote is very young. It is still learning the way of the world, the way things operate. And it's kind of cool because it gives Normie some responsibility. Him being a kid himself, he is still trying to figure out this world as much as our symbiote Rascal is as well. And Normie really wanted to be a hero. He has been enthralled with the superhero life for as long as he can remember. But battling against the Goblin King, he has learned very much so that he is outnumbered, that he is outmatched. Even at one point, he considered that he wanted his mother. This is just showing how much of an adolescence he truly is. How much he is just in over his head. But still, he faces off against the Goblin Nation, against the Goblin King. He may have lost this fight pretty badly. If it weren't for the help of Norman, there would have been no chance of him making it out of this. But the odds are still very much stacked against them as they face a newly super-powered or serum-powered, goblin-powered Goblin Nation. And what we saw in the hands of the Goblin King after he had been knocked out by Norman was a piece of paper that said Timothy Anders, or Anders, however you want to say it. This means that we can more than likely expect the Goblin King to return and attack the school. This is narrowing down exactly who the Red Assassin may be. The question now, how long before the Goblin King figures out who the Red Assassin is? How long before this secret identity is already going to be revealed? No matter what happens, we know that Normie is going to need the help of his grandfather. It is only a matter of time before he reveals his identity to his grandfather. But let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. If you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.